in this video, we're going to discuss a summary of our conic sections and basically how you tell each of those four conics apart. So our four conics are circles, ellipses, hyperbolas, and parabolas. So for circles, again, here we've kind of got our general equation here. So the A and the C are going to be the same, and neither of them are 0. An ellipse is going to be almost the same thing. The only difference is the A and the C value are going to be different. And again, here we're expressing that as they're both going to be positive as well. So you can see we've got an example here. It's not in that standard form we saw earlier, but that would still be an ellipse. Hyperbolas are probably one of the easier ones to identify because one of A and C is going to be negative. Doesn't really matter which. In this example, it's the y that's negative, but as long as one of them is negative, we'll have a hyperbola. And finally, parabolas are the other ones that are hopefully pretty easy to identify, which is we will have only one of the two squares. So we'll have either just x squared or just y squared. We won't see both of them. So let's go through some examples. So our first one, I have both x squared and y squared, so it's not a parabola. They're both positive, so it's not a hyperbola either. So is it a circle or an ellipse? Well, since they have the same coefficient out front, this is a circle. So both x, y are square and positive, and then x, y have the same, I'm going to write shorthand there, coefficient. All right, let's try this next one. Now you'll notice I've got things on different sides, so I do usually start by having both the squares at least on the same side. So let's quickly rewrite this with that y minus 2 on the left-hand side, so we can see once again that x and y are both squared, and they're both positive. So again, it's either going to be a circle or an ellipse, and once again, they've got the same coefficient. So this is also a circle. Lots of my answers there. All right, moving down to my third one. So again, we both have x and y are squared, and they're positive. So once again, this is either a circle or an ellipse, but this time we've got different coefficients. So this one is an ellipse. If we wanted to see that general form we saw earlier, we would divide both sides by 36 to get a 1 here, and that would give us the different denominators that we saw in our previous section. All right, once again, let's get that x squared and y squared on the same side. And once again, we can see that both x squared and y are both squared. They're both positive. So again, this is either a circle or an ellipse. And once again, we can see that they do have different coefficients. So this is also an ellipse. Again, I've got two examples of both circles and ellipses because those are usually the hardest to tell apart from each other. The other two are hopefully a little bit more obvious. So here, we do both have them squared, but I'm going to say here basically one negative, but they're both squared. So this is a hyperbola. So again, if both your x and y are squared, but one of them is a negative, that will give us a hyperbola. And similarly here, let's take that y to the other side. We can see the same case here. So they're both squared, but one of them is negative. And again, it does not remotely matter. These are both with the y that's negative. Doesn't matter which. If one of them is negative, this is going to be a hyperbola. And I actually did not have an example for a parabola. Let's do one real quick. Let's say I've got x squared minus y is 36. As we can see here, one of them is not squared. And again, it really does not matter which one is not squared. If you have a variable that's not squared, then that is a parabola. And that is basically how we tell the difference between our four types of conics.